There will be no need to take any photos. The last slide will have a QR code, and I promise it's legit.
This time.
This time, yeah. Yeah, and also if you download the slides, you can see all the slides we had to skip to make it to do it in half the time. But anyway, it'll all be the same, no problem. Anybody has black pets knows this because they're also damn cute, but you can't take a photo of them, and then if you do, nobody can see how damn cute they are.
A little void.
Yeah. So yeah, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. That's in Europe. But with my wife and those two rascals, I've been in security for 20 years. I've done internal stuff, external stuff. I managed to become not really good at anything, so I became a freelancer instead, trying to do fun stuff. There's room for improvement, but that's okay. I've always had a thing for doing games to learn security, and mixing games and fun and learning just made so much sense. So I jumped at the possibility to do this when I had it. So here we are trying to convince you guys to do the same. And goals.
All right. I'm going to take this here.
Yeah, well, it is quite
so
good way.
This is me and my cats, AI-ified. I do, in fact, have 4 cats. I live in Utah, so a little bit closer to here. These 4 cats often seem like 47 cats with all the cat activity going on at any given time. I am a virtual CISO, and I've been in IT and cybersecurity on about 20 years myself, depending on how much misspent youth you count in that. I've held a number of roles in my career, but my childhood had a lot of role-playing games in it, and I somehow got to combine that with incident response in my professional life. So that is kind of why we're here to talk to you about the tools that you can use to game and train at the same time. So.
Yep. Exactly. So we'll be talking about the problem with more traditional training and how your brain is wired for games and social learning, and obviously doing it the role-playing way, it creates an immersive, engaging experience, and then we'll talk a little bit about hackback security training that doesn't suck. So yeah, game-based learning. Well, first of all, we'll be talking about. Sorry, we will be. There we are. All right. Anyways, we'll be talking about game-based learning a lot. So it's important for you to know what is game-based learning and what's gamification, because they're not the same thing. Although some people try to, or oftentimes some people misunderstand a little bit, because game-based learning is where the game is what teaches you stuff, whereas gamification is basically turning something that's not a learning experience into a game, like which team does the immensely boring security awareness training first gets cake, because I'm from Denmark, we do everything in cake. So, but that's gamification, and that's really not what we're talking about. So, yep. Yeah, so what's the problem with training? Well, the traditional training that exists is like, class-based training, like and computer-based training, and that's more or less it. Unless we're in incident response, then
somebody's standing up in front of you and talking like this.
Yeah, exactly like this. And but it's a little bit different in incident response, because we want people to have some muscle memory in the thing. So we try to make it more practical and do tabletop exercises. And in theory, it all sounds great. It should work, but in theory, in reality, it's really, really boring, because oftentimes, obviously it can be done in a number of different ways, but oftentimes it's a compliance thing. It's something people are forced to do. You sit around a table talking about procedures, and honestly, I can understand why people think it's boring, because it is. And the point with that is that if it's dull, if it's not engaging, then people don't want to do it. If people are only there because they're forced to, and all the time they're thinking about when is this over, when can I go home?
You're not really getting the value out of it that you could.
No, exactly. So that's a huge problem, obviously. So it can be done differently, and that's what we will be talking about. So it turns out that fun is really not the best argument when you want to talk to management about why we should do this. So we turn to science. Luckily, science agreed that this is a good thing. So we found some studies. The first study is a meta-study on game-based learning, where the conclusion is that most studies in the sample reported analog GBL, game-based learning, as an effective pedagogical tool with an impact on the learning, cognitive, and psychological levels. It's from a media called Frontiers in Psychology. So what's game-based learning, and how does it work? Obviously, games are many things, but why role-playing games in particular? Because it turns out that science agrees with us here as well. When Dungeons and Dragons and its cousins are played in an inviting, encouraging, compassionate, and intellectually engaged environment, play opens the door to fully amazing possibilities for learning. Because apart from the obvious that people are researching Dungeons and Dragons, which I personally find immensely cool, scientific backing does exist, but honestly, that's really not the reason why we're doing this, because we're doing this because we're geeks, right? So we'll take any excuse to do Dungeons and Dragons as part of our grown-up jobs, and you probably will too. So, well, thank you, I guess. So, I mean, why else would you be here? So,
Role-playing is immersive. I think that's fairly obvious, but when you get people laughing, a lot of the other baggage goes away. You get out of the politics, you get out of the some of the other the egos, the posturing, the things that you may not want your boss to think about you. You may not want your peers to think about you. You worry about some of those things, and when you start laughing, you forget about that. You forget to protect your turf and fight the scenario. You get very invested in the game and what's going on, and you learn too. And because you've forgotten about some of these things that you would worry about in a more corporate setting, you're more honest, and the players are more honest, and the conversations are more honest. What really happens in a practical situation is more likely to come out than in the sterile postured scenario, I guess. Some of the bonuses in this are the empathy. If you're playing a character that's maybe not yourself, and are in a little bit different role than you would be normally, say you're normally an IT manager, but you're now in the role of a communications director, you have different lenses with which you're approaching the scenario at this point, and you gain empathy for the person that is normally in that role. And that really broadens your
horizon,
I guess. It can be a more lifelike simulation too. Again, some of the negatives really go away. So.
Yeah, and with lifelike we mean that when we're playing the game, as a character has a set number of action, that means that once those actions are gone, they can't do more. Right.
There's some inherent structure.
Yeah. So oftentimes when we do normal TTXs, when people are talking about sitting around the table and talking about procedures, it's often not caught that one person is actually doing everything, and that's not possible in real life, and it's certainly not possible in the game either.
That imbalance in some of those normal exercises where one or two people may do a bulk of what's going on, whereas some other people may be more the wallflowers and be afraid to speak up. That structure kind of balances that.
Yeah. And on top of that, Dungeons & Dragons is when a 20-sided dice. And the good thing with that is that it introduces that things not always go as they should, just like in real life. So.
Just because you think you're logging this event doesn't mean you actually are, or that your backups work as intended. So.
True.
So this is where Hackback kind of comes in. And if you want to scan our totally legitimate QR code, feel free here, but you can find us on LinkedIn and from hackbackgaming.com. Let's get into a little bit more about what Hackback is. It's more of a framework. We've used it for incident response very heavily because that is kind of the natural initial gravitation. Yeah. But it has applications well beyond that. You could do offensive scenarios. You could do purple team scenarios. There's plenty of anything that you can imagine. You can use this framework with.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in more detail.
Yeah.
Next up, all right.
Also, it's open source ish, soonish.
Yeah,
we've been saying that for a while. But you can get an invite to this. We'll say. Wide range of applications. You can get out of some of the abstraction. You can help teach non-technical people with it. You can have broad scenarios with a broad audience, or you can have deep focused scenarios with a technical audience, or anything that you need.
Yeah, and also in terms of de-abstractification, what you can do is that you could take those things that nobody really knows what is, like zero trust, for instance. That's the most hyped thing, and nobody really knows what it is. But if you could write a scenario around it where you're using those concepts, not calling it zero trust, and then play a zero trust scenario, and then afterwards say, well, that was actually zero trust. Oh, it's like, and you're like, oh, that's what it was.
You make a connection there that maybe wasn't there before.
Yeah, and also IAM, really, really important, but also really, 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 really boring, right? Because, but obviously, if you're one of those companies that don't need to do IAM because of compliance issues, then you're like, isn't it the same as my AD? And of course it's not. But if you don't understand that, so we'll play a scenario, right? You get fucked over because you didn't have IAM, or you didn't because you did, right? So it's a way to exemplify how this is working in real life without it being like a boring lecture about stuff that are really truly boring.
Absolutely. Teamwork. Incident response teams, for example, have to work together. No one person can do it all. There's no one person with all the expertise or the bandwidth needed to do all of the things. So your teams have to work together. So this is about training that muscle memory, getting used to working together as a team, maybe in different roles than you normally do in your day-to-day. So that's a different spin on it that can strengthen a team too. Marketing events. We've successfully done this as an event where you can incorporate a product into a scenario and have a good time while marketing your product.
Yeah. A good example is Cisco, because everybody thinks that Cisco are just firewalls, but they have like a gazillion product, a gazillion number of products. But you can take scenarios and with those lesser known thing, and then you teach people about Cisco without having to do a POC. So
yeah,
that's an example. As an example.
Team events. You can scale this and have folks play a role together or play a function together. So I mean, ideally, you're talking 6-ish players, give or take a few in any given game. because the more players you get, the more actions you have, the longer the overall game takes. But if you've got a few people in groups playing a role, you can scale that more effectively. So that can grow into something larger. You can simulate real events, past incidents that you've dealt with, famous incidents maybe.
Yeah, it's a much better way to explain what you do than make people read a report. So like,
Okay.
so yeah, so Hackback started as incident response, as we said before, but it can do a lot more things than that. Why not use it to teach or to do offensive security thing, like teaching people how to think like a hacker or do red team operations, stuff like that, and more defensive in terms of proactive threat hunting, security, architecture, design. Everything can be turned into a game. And also attack and defense. Why not play two teams against each other in real time? A ransomware scenario where one is the attacker, one is the defender, and both have to do like stakeholder management, and part of the game is the whole negotiation part. And the hybrid scenarios with risk assessment, compliance session. Why not turn risk management into something in Star Wars that will inspire even the most risk management adverse geeky person? Because the point is that you can reframe a lot of things to make it more interesting. And the newest idea is a game we've made together with the Mobile Village at DEF CON, where we are taking our game, Pokemon elements, and a lot of other things, and then people are collecting these malware monsters in their own mold decks. There's a lot of Pokemon in it. That's quite a different take. And unlike Hackback, which is a framework, malware and monsters is a more or less fully
defined game.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, we're making a Discord. We have made a Discord. Everything is core to Markdown. Obviously, it's not text. There isn't really anything technical. It's all analog. And we have a Discord server, and this QR code is exactly as it did as the other ones. But else it's discord.gg/hackback. And I said the last slide is the QR code to download the slides yourself. And obviously, I'm a freelancer, so if you want to do something like this at your company, I'm more than happy to help, of course. And that's it. On the bell, I think, more or less. Right, cool.
All right. Questions? Comments, concerns, issues, general musings.
Criticism.
So anything that you found that helps build the empathy, like any specific examples of like if you're trying to get teams to work together who have butted heads or have not enjoyed working together, like any aha moments or anything around that?
Flip the roles a little bit. Put your IT director into your communications manager role and vice versa, and make them live each other's lives for a little bit, and they will come away going, I now understand you in a way that I didn't before, and have a lot more respect and understanding when stress levels are high. So.
Yeah, the whole point of why we are playing is that we want people to feel something rather than just being told. And by putting people in situation where they're feeling things, it doesn't have to be empathy thing. It could be like people learn when they feel, and that's what we do with the game. So.
And I think one more comment here. When you watch children play, they have fun and they learn at the same time very organically. And we have somehow lost that along the way. This is a way that you can start to get some of that back.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment kids start in school, then they are taught not to do this anymore. So, but this is literally how human brains work. So, all right. Yes.
So, me personally, you tell me, hey, we're gonna play a game. I'm like, sure, let's do it. Not everybody's really into or like used to the idea of playing. What are sort of the ways you kind of get them to get over the initial wave? This is weird. What are we doing? That.
I would say know your target group, because it all depends on who you want to play it with. Because if you find a random number of IT and security people, chances are that they have been involved with stuff like this, and then you can go very heavy on the D&D angle. Because when we talk to our peers, as soon as we mention Dungeons and Dragons, people are like, oh, I want to do this. But obviously, if you talk to management, they say Dungeons and Dragons. It's not.
You can't have fun and learn at the same time.
Yeah, I would say it's not exactly as likely, right? But you're right in that there is some in some company cultures and in some managers' heads that they need to understand that having fun doesn't mean that you aren't learning and it isn't useful, because the fun is a catalyzer, that's a tool. It's necessary for it to be there for people to engage, and if they don't engage, they don't learn.
You almost come at it from completely the other direction, where this is learning. This is we have dice rolling to simulate real situations and randomness, but this is about learning, and then the fun we make happen as a byproduct, and then everybody is, wow, this is great. This is the best way to do this. Why don't we come back and do this again? So.
Yeah. I got involved in this when I started talking in 2018. When I heard a guy, Bruce Potter, talking about how he did this at his company, and afterwards people came to him and asked, when can we do this fun game again? And I'm like, has this ever happened before with instant response training that people are asking for specifically? I mean, it's crazy. So obviously it can do something that other methods can't. All right. That's it for us. Thanks for being here.